So when I first came across the concept of archetypes or alternative personalities was really when I was 15, 16 years old. And I was a competitive tennis player. I was in the top 10% in the UK. So I trained very, very hard. And when you get to that specific level, it's really not about your skill set anymore. You have the game in front of you and you know how to serve, you know how to play. It ends up being 95% about your mind. So this was a pure training ground for me at 15 to be, an A+ student along with a competitive tennis player. And how did I do this? I transformed myself into a personality that I didn't know. It was someone who was fierce. It was someone that other people aspired to be. And when I got onto that court, I had this strength, I had this courage, I had something inside me I didn't even recognize. But I knew I had to come on and present myself this way in order to win. And so whenever I got into this beautiful, courageous space, it was like I was floating on the court. It was like the emotions just came to me and I didn't even have to effort along the way. And so we know that there are celebrities out there that take on these types of personalities like Beyoncé, right? She's got Sasha Fierce. And so whenever she gets on stage, she channels this person until there's a point in time where she doesn't need to pretend to be that person. She just becomes it. And so I don't know if any of you have heard of the book, The Alter Ego Effect. So in this book, the author talks about, which one is it, the alter ego? Is it the Superman or is it Clark Kent? Mm-hmm. And so he actually argues that it's Superman that you are all along, and it's Clark Kent that's the alterer. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to reflect a little bit about what is your highest and unique expression, and what is your version of that Superman or that Superwoman? What do they look like? What do they feel like? How do they operate in the world? And so to aid in this kind of exercise, a couple years ago, I came up with the concept of the Brilliance Archetypes. And at that time, I had no idea what they represented. To me, I thought that they were aspects of clients that I worked with, and to some degree they were. There was the rebel, the warrior. I'm not going to go through all 12 of the archetypes, but many of you probably have heard about some of them. But they're not just about, people who are in stories or in books. They're not, in movies. They're real living beings. And I noticed along my time of becoming a spiritual coach and a business mentor is that people were operating in the wrong archetype. So there was, for example, the builder who, he came into a CEO role when in actuality, he came to life as an explorer. He wanted to travel the world. He wanted to connect with people. And whenever he did that, he just came to life and he had so many discoveries, so many breakthroughs that he came back with, right? But he didn't allow himself to be that explorer in his day-to-day life. So he limited himself. And there was the writer who in actuality was a networker. But she had these experiences with people that completely, unfortunately, made her not become this person who's like dynamic when she connects with people. because she repressed that part of her through those experiences. And so I want to tell you also a story about myself and how I completely forgot what my archetype was. I had all this training in all these different healing modalities. I had all the tools at my disposal. And yet when I started my business, all of that went out the door. I was back in a place where I took on the mindset of my ancestors that I needed to suffer, not only suffer, but I needed to starve and I needed to hide in order to succeed. It was a very interesting, I have a grandma who was in the Holocaust and many different experiences from my ancestors that I had to uncover over time and to heal within myself. And I forgot that my archetype is a magician. And a magician is someone who is really connected to the synchronicities of the world. Somebody who is able to channel opportunities for themselves and knows how the universe works, how to take the law of attraction and use it for themselves. And so it was this place of having to remember, because I had deeply gotten into a situation of being very unhealthy, and I had a disease that was very mysterious. Nobody knew what it was. As you can see today, I'm fully healthy now. But at that time, it was some kind of immune expression where my cells were attacking themselves. And I couldn't eat. And my power center, right here at my solar plexus, was affected. And so I knew that I was giving my power away. I was giving my power away to other people who were trying to challenge. What are you doing, starting this business, right? Who were trying to create for me, who were trying to speak for me. And I was unconsciously attacking myself. And that was the expression that took inside my body, is it was an attack on my own cells. And so it was not until I started to remember once again who I actually am. The magician. The magician, I put this archetype all over, on my mirror, on my computer, everywhere, just to remind myself anytime that I slipped into a place where I was fearful, I was letting other people control me or manipulate me in some sort of way, that I was someone who was super powerful. And I was someone who could create anything that I desired. And I even had, ridiculously, this crystal wand that I carried around, in my room, just to remind myself, again, anchor into the real world, that I could, with this wand, go abracadabra, and my desires came to life. And every time that I got into this place of the magician, these amazing opportunities came to my door. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to struggle. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do the whole rat race, right? It just flowed. It just came. And so I would teeter between this, going between the two worlds of being that superwoman, that magician type, and being the sort of current self, right? And so I realized I had to go through a process of rebirth. I had to rebirth myself over and over again as this magician archetype. And so I want to invite all of you to think about what your archetype could be. And I invite you to, of course, take a look at what the Brilliance Archetypes are. But you can even think of anything. It could be a queen. It could be, for the sake of this, exercise. It could be a multicolored, animal, whatever it is. But it is a higher expression of getting yourself into a space where all these possibilities can unfold for you. And so that's really the first step, I would say, for anyone to step into a soul-aligned business, is to say goodbye to an older version of yourself, and to imagine what that higher version of you is. And then the third piece is, who is your people that you are here to serve, and what is their archetype? Because there is a very key correlation between what you have to offer and the people who are seeking that from you. So my client archetype is in the sacred money archetypes called the ruler. And the ruler is also a part of me, because our clients are 1/12 of us for the most part. And the ruler is someone who is somewhat, can delegate to many people. They are a leader. They are someone who has many, many different attributes of building a business. And what I provide to my client is these magical ideas. I have a stream and channel of ideas for them, and together we can co-create an amazing business. And so I want to also share with you a little bit of my magic, and hopefully an activation for you as well for the last few minutes that we have together. So I'd love for you to close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. And I'd like you to imagine that there's a ball of light in the center of the earth. And it's coming up through your feet. It's coming up through all of your chakras, up to your heart, up to the crown of your head. Imagine that you are now inside that ball of light, and you're traveling through the universe. You're going through bright lights, dark lights, past your ancestors, past the galaxies, through a golden light, and into a bright, bright, bright white light. And this is the light of the universe, the light of the Creator. So, Creator of all that is, it is requested that all that are gathered here today are ready and willing to release the current self that they've attached themselves to. The version of themselves that is hiding, the version of themselves that is not playing the main character of their life. And I'd like you to now imagine that new archetype, that new person, that new version of who you are now allowing to step in. And to imagine what that person acts like, and what that person feels like, and what that person does, and what the characteristics of this person is. And now I'd like you to imagine all the people that you are now calling in to work with you, who are just waiting in the sidelines for you to step in to this archetype that is you all along, that was there waiting for you and that they were waiting for. And so we're now going to call those people in to align with you, and that together you are going to change the world, and you're going to make so much magic. Now you can open your eyes. And now you and your archetype are one. So thank you very much. And please do reach out to me if you are interested to learn more. And I'm at micheleparad.com. So.